So,
Welcome, TikTok.
welcome TikTok. First and last in-season college football show.
Yep.
All
I am
right,
not. Yep. I'm
ready
seeing
to
it.
go, Beach?
Let's do it, man.
All right, welcome to the podcast, everybody. We are live after a blowout of a national championship. Unfortunately, we don't have our host Zach here today. He had contracted some kind of illness. He told us today. We don't know what he did this weekend. So, you know, how you doing, Beach?
Yep. We're good, brother. We're good. How about yourself, man?
Uh, you know, I'm living. Worked a little bit late today,
Yep.
but I am ready to go for this. This is a very
Let's
good
do it, buddy.
podcast we got. We got a lot of
Just
topics because college
yeah,
football never
just,
stops, man.
just had me a nice steak dinner to celebrate the end of the college season, buddy. I mean, I'm not happy, but we got to do this every year, unfortunately.
You celebrated the end of you celebrated that game.
Yeah, no,
Fuck was there to
not at
celebrate?
all.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hate Michigan, dude. I do not want to see them win it, but
yeah,
like I said, we'll wait till that title gets stripped away from them. So,
yeah,
in
exactly.
typical Michigan style.
What's up, Harrison? Welcome in. Yeah, so let's go ahead and jump right into it, Beach. What are your thoughts on the game last night? How do you think it went? Like, I mean, you know
Well,
my thoughts.
yeah, I mean, considering hey, against the spread, boys got it wrong again. Picking Washington, we've been wrong on these teams all season long. We thought Washington. I mean, they looked incredible against Texas. Michael Penix balling out. He just didn't look like that guy. I mean, I think you said in a text message, like this was the Michael Penix that was having these close games all season against mediocre opponents. But I mean, they were just a little banged up. Dylan Johnson, ankle injury. I mean, put his heart and soul into it, trying to be out there, but I think it was maybe doing a little more hurt than good for them.
Yeah,
But dude, Michigan, 303 rushing yards to Washington's 46. JJ McCarthy only had to throw the ball 18. This looked like a midseason game for Michigan when they're playing like Indiana or somebody, like Michigan
yeah,
State, whoever. It wasn't a great national championship. I mean, cool for Jim Harbaugh. Maybe he walks off and joins the NFL after this, but I mean, they just absolutely dominated him on the line of scrimmage. Just played bully ball the entire night. Penix had probably his worst game of the season, 27 for 51, 255 yards, touchdown, and 2 picks.
he just
So,
looked entirely off. Like he was throwing under
yeah.
routes, and it was like he just lobs it over a guy's head, or
Well,
like,
and then he wasn't going through his progressions, and there was wide open guys. Like
oh
if he
yeah,
would have just sat, I mean, I guess obviously the pressure got to him and he had to get rid of the ball, but man, they were showing a few of those plays that a half a second more if he looked off the other way, there's a guy wide open running a freaking free and easy, probably touchdown catch. And then obviously we all saw the fourth down, just absolute missed throw to Rome Odunze that would have been a
dude,
touchdown.
Dunze was wide open. That right tackle was lost all game though.
Yeah.
He was in the weeds. I don't know what the fuck he thought he was doing, but it was
Yeah.
like, dude, just make one block, give him a couple extra seconds, like let him
Yeah.
make a play, and
Yeah,
they,
just missed. I mean, really just missed opportunities for Washington on all facets of the game. I mean, like we said, that touchdown he missed to Roma Dunze. Then they make it 13 or what 10-17 at half, I believe it was.
yeah,
And then they get the ball back at half, so you're like, okay, we're about to do something. Immediately throws a pick.
just
Luckily they hold Michigan. They hold Michigan to a field goal, but then I think in the third quarter they were down 7. It was 2013. In the third quarter, they had Michigan backed up in their own 8-yard line, 3rd and 8, and could have gotten a punt there, gotten the ball on their own 50 or like on somewhere around the 50-yard line. They let McCarthy break out for like a 25-yard run. Michigan goes on to punt there, but they wasted another 3 or 4 minutes off the clock. Then they punted. Washington's on their own 11. So it's like that
yeah.
just changed the game big time right there. So I mean, really, Washington just played a bad game overall. Michigan really just played their game, and
And I would
obviously,
even say though that like it really felt like Michigan was like it could have been worse because
hmm
like I Washington had the chance. It was 13-20, I think, and I think I texted y'all and I was like, Washington better score this drive because I don't know how much longer their defense is about to hold
Yep.
the dam because it was coming,
Yep.
and
Yep.
they just couldn't convert. I think they had 3 or 4 drives where their defense was playing hell bent, stopping the
Yep.
run. They tried to throw with JJ McCarthy, and he can't throw. So, like Michigan was really, really. They were doing a good job, or Washington was doing a good job on defense, and you were like, all right, Penix, you gotta do something here. Like you gotta do something. And then he just couldn't. He was just off. He couldn't connect with Odunze. Like Odunze had a decent game, but he wasn't connecting with him. They were wasting run plays with Dylan Johnson because you could have put me out there and I would have hit a hole faster. That dude had one leg. He was limping up to the fucking line. Like, come on, like, take him out of the game. There had to be a backup that could run at least a 4-5.
You know what's crazy is I heard them talking about how the second string running back had, like, I want to say almost 1,000 yards less than Dylan Johnson. Like, and it's absurd. Like, Dylan Johnson just played that much. Like, Buddy just didn't miss a snap.
Yeah, but at what point does that hurt your team?
Like, yeah, exactly. I mean, I will say there was one play after the first play he had came in after the injury, and I was like, dude, he doesn't need to be out there. He's like you said, hobbling up to the line of scrimmage. And he runs out. They did a sweep with the wide receiver, and he was the lead blocker and just blocks. I was like, damn, okay. I like that. Let's go.
But he did not give a shit about his NFL career. He was going out there to win a natty.
Respect for him. But, yeah, like you said, man, at some point there's a fine line of I love the heart and soul, but are you doing more damage to your team than help right now?
Yeah.
And I feel like, he could have been crossing over that line, but I want to bring up, dude, how about freaking Donovan Edwards from Michigan? Buddy
seems better than Corum, to be honest.
Dude, last year he was freaking baller. I mean, he was doing that all year last year. I think Corum might have been injured a little bit last year, so Edwards was kind of the guy. But Corum came back, and Corum's pretty damn good. He had 134 yards on 21 carries. He's a very
solid running back, it feels like.
Yeah,
like just
Donovan Edwards
really, really give you like 5 yards a carry, 4 yards a carry. Donovan Edwards feels like he can just like explode on any given play.
He's one of those guys that, like, he's bigger stature. I think he's probably like 6'1", 6'2", like 210, probably 220. But I mean, he looks like a Derrick Henry type when he runs the ball. He doesn't look like he's running that fast when he's striding, but he's just dusting everybody.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it was that first one where I thought the safety had an angle on him. And I was like, okay, that's a good 30-yard run. And he just blew by that guy. I was like, we're in it's game over. Michigan won.
And yeah, that first big breakout touchdown, I mean, he literally got stopped at the line of scrimmage, ran into his blockers. There were defenders around, and then he just went, right around, 40-yard touchdown run. And then the second one, I mean, he was right behind the line of scrimmage again, and then just beautiful vision, dips out to the right and just finds the gap. And I mean, but 104 yards on 6 carries. That's 17 yards per carry. Dude.
Yeah, like 90 of those on 2.
I mean, it was great. I mean, I think it could have been worse if Michigan, if he wouldn't have scored those 2 touchdowns like that. I think they would have just freaking bled out that clock, because those first 2 drives when they scored like that, I mean, just 4-minute drives, and then Donovan Edwards broke off for those big touchdown runs. But I didn't think Washington was going to stop him. Like, they would have just wasted 7-8 minutes off the clock instead. Washington might have only put up 10 points. I mean, maybe even 6, 7.
It felt weird that they were trying to establish a run in the first half. Like, you understood going into that game that you had to throw the ball to beat Michigan, and yet you tried to establish the run with a hurt running back.
Yeah,
like.
I mean, they were trying.
I'll say this about this game. I think this game was worse than the Georgia National Championship last year, because at least we got to see some explosive plays last year. This one was just like a couple run plays.
Yeah. I don't know though. I mean, but realistically, this game didn't get ugly. I mean, I see Troy said worst matchup in college football playoff era. Buddy, I think last year was way worse. I mean,
look, I got to see more explosive plays last year. At least it was a team that I'm a part. Like, it's in the South, so I got to watch them. These 2 teams. But
this game didn't get out of hand until the fourth quarter. It was 20-13 in the third.
Did you feel like it was out of hand before then?
And then, okay, let's talk about 27-13. Michael Penix makes that pass. Washington gets called for a bullshit holding call. and the big play gets taken all the way back. They could have scored right there, made it 27-20, would have been a good game, but
Do
I don't know.
you feel like Troy just said, give me TCU Georgia matchup again, at least, or Christian said that, at least one team was dominant. Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like either one of these teams are, I don't know, the best in the country. I feel like the SEC championship game, maybe, like Georgia.
I don't know, man. I mean, obviously, I'm going to have somewhat of a biased take on this because Michigan beat Alabama. And I thought, I mean, dude, their defense is just, we think they're overrated, but they realistically
No,
hounded
they played really
Alabama.
well. That was
They
impressive.
hounded Alabama. I mean, they knew how to get Milroe off of his foot. I mean, obviously, I'll keep saying it. We're going to bring it up later. Seth McLaughlin, our center. See you later, buddy. Go to Ohio State Buckeyes. He was great for a little while, but didn't know how to snap the ball, making everything, all the timing of the plays were off. So, I mean, they just bum rushed us. They knew how to get to us. And same with Washington. I mean, they knew if they got Penix slightly off of his timing, he wasn't going to be the Michael Penix that finished second in Heisman. I mean, they have good DBs. So with their coverage and
which is weird to me though, because like we had this impression of Penix from the games we've watched, which was like Oregon, and Texas, basically. I mean, maybe we watched Oregon State, I think, but like we had this impression of Penix where he's always just calm in the pocket, like he can read a coverage really well. And this game, it seemed like he seemed like a glorified Milroe. A little better arm, less mobility. Can't read a defense.
Yep. I know. That's Troy's over here saying Milroe's a terrible quarterback. I'm like, man, look. I mean, he got sacked 6 or 7 times, was bum rushed, couldn't get a snap above his knees, and he did. I mean, he didn't throw near as much as Penix in terms of yards, but he also didn't throw the ball 51 times. So, I mean, I think Michigan's defense is just they were that good this year, man. I mean, as much as we were shitting on them because they hadn't really played good offenses all season, which is true. But they got to these big games and they I mean, because Washington, realistically, they were driving the ball pretty decent every drive, I thought. But once they got onto Michigan's side of the field, Michigan really stood their ground and was like, all right, this is about as far as you're going to get. And they stopped them and held them out and forced them to punt. So
I'm trying to look up how many like pressures they had on them. I mean,
what Washington had what, like 21 or 19 wins in a row? I bet they did. When's the last time Washington only scored 13 points?
I don't know.
I mean, I couldn't tell you. So
I mean,
pretty impressive.
Though they scored 15 against Arizona State. I mean, he just didn't look that impressive.
Yeah.
I don't. If he was pressured, he got the ball out quick. But some of those throws were just bad, even underneath routes and stuff like that. And honestly, Michigan DBs deserve a lot of credit because they stuck on those receivers basically all game, besides the couple of Odunze blown coverages, which that's that one throw wasn't Penix's fault, and Odunze like stopped running, tried to turn around, then like you got to work your way to the outside line right there.
Yeah, I agree. No, I mean it wasn't. I mean, obviously, it wasn't fun for us SEC fans. We were just talking about it before. That was the first time that the SEC hadn't been in the national championship of the college football playoffs since the first year when Ohio State and Oregon played. I believe it was.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's pretty crazy. First year, last year, but every year in between. SEC won 6 of the 10. So if you're ever wondering why the SEC is the best conference in college football, there's your answer.
We came full circle though. No SEC to start, no SEC to finish. Okay. Yeah. So now we're gonna go on a run of no SEC next year to start the 12 team, SEC until the end of time when the 12 team goes away.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting next year, man. I mean, I don't know what the hell is.
You want to go ahead and get into the next topic? We can talk about the transfer portal and a little bit of the movement that started.
Yeah, are we doing AP poll next or? Transfer portal.
Let's go. You want to go AP portal? Oh, we're doing.
Let's go ahead and talk. Yeah, let's talk about the final AP poll.
All right.
Disagree here. Just disagree here.
With Michigan, Washington, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, Florida State, Missouri, Ole Miss, Ohio State, then Arizona, the highest rated Big 12 team going into next year.
Yeah, I would like to see if there's ever been a tied. Yeah,
The
they got
rest of
Florida
it
State and
is
Oregon.
SEC. There's one ACC team and Big Ten.
Yeah, yeah. No, they got two. They got Louisville and Clemson in there. There's no and NC State. Some
Well,
ACC up in there.
in the top 11 is what I'm
Oh
saying.
yeah,
I
top
only say
11.
11 because the Big 12s we picked Arizona
Yeah,
to
yeah.
win, so we got to keep them.
Right.
We got to keep them involved.
Yeah, Arizona, they're going to be freaking good next year. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really understand why they moved Georgia above Alabama. Yeah, cool that they beat Florida State 63-3. I mean, I was hoping that would happen, but Florida State also didn't have like 19 of their starters. So what? I mean, and Bama lost a overtime game that they really should have won that game. Like what merits that for us to drop a spot? I mean, if you're going to drop anybody, freaking drop
Yeah, but
Washington
this
and
is
Texas.
them looking in hindsight,
Yeah, but hindsight, Bama lost an overtime game against Michigan. Washington just got their ass beat. So what are we doing here? And Washington beat Tech. I mean, if
You're
anything,
advocating for
I tweeted it out. I tweeted
Okay.
it out. I said, "Give me my top three: Michigan, Bama, Georgia." I think that's how it should go.
Michigan, Bama, then Georgia.
Yeah, and then Washington, Texas. I'll give them that. That would be my top five.
Look, man,
If
if you ran that Georgia game back again, are you confident that you would beat Georgia, or would you get washed?
I mean, dude, the matchup was there. I mean, I thought we probably did play our best game of the season against them, but you have to play your best game against a team like that.
Yeah, but
I mean,
they had Brock and Ladd hurt. That's two key
yeah,
pieces.
they weren't great. They weren't in great shape, but I mean,
You
still,
take those.
they made big time mistakes at bad times. Don't fumble on your own 10-yard line. Don't miss a field goal. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you.
What about? What about the catch?
Yeah, I mean,
you don't want to talk about the catch.
That's up for debate. I can't tell you if they would have. I mean, should they have reviewed it? Yes. Would they have overturned it? I don't know.
Look, man. I think this is kind of right. Yeah, look, Joseph backs me up. Terrible calls, also. This is about as right as you can get. They tied, I think, Oregon and Florida State.
Yeah.
Florida State's down bad, man. They're down this horrendous. Yep. But yeah, I guess you got to keep Washington at 2. I don't know. I would have dropped Washington more for that bullshit they did.
No, I mean, they played tough. I mean, rough game. But I mean, literally the only thing that I'm surprised about is them ranking Georgia above Alabama. Biased as it may sound, but I mean, y'all say I don't get it. I don't understand. I mean, we made it to the college football playoffs, lost in overtime. Well, I don't know why we drop a spot, but these obviously don't matter anything. Like these aren't worth anything. I think Georgia's going to be number 1 and Alabama's going to be number 2 going into next year. So,
yeah, but Troy, they lost two games. I guess their game actually mattered, but then you're going to count Georgia's bowl game win for them.
I mean, yeah, but that's.
I mean, it's
kind
of a skewed.
Yeah.
Troy said, "Waiting for you to acknowledge that they lost 2. You guys lost 2 games."
Yeah, our game freaking mattered. Y'all's didn't. Y'all played a team that had all second string players in, and y'all played pretty much damn near all your starters.
I still think they should have done the emergency 16 playoff this year.
Yeah, that would have been great. I would love to see that. I mean, I wouldn't have loved to see it because playing Georgia again would have been scary, but I think we could have beat them twice. Just really shut them up.
Look, man, I don't know. That Georgia team this year was scary. I think every team in the playoff is pretty happy that they were out.
Let's discuss this though. That this year's Georgia team was not the Georgia team of the last 2 years. Like they had a scary win against Auburn. They beat Missouri by 9. They beat Georgia Tech by what?
Yeah,
9.
but Missouri ended up being good as shit.
Yeah, Missouri was a good football team. But what they beat Georgia Tech by? Like 9. I mean, they sat Brock
8.
and Ladd, whatever.
But
it's not like it's not like this Georgia team was some insanely dominant team like they had been the last 2 years. Like they had some scares, they had some games they could have lost.
I agree, but from having to watch Georgia football every year, and you watch the same shit, they do the exact same thing every year. It's just the end of the season whether or not they turn it on.
Yeah, I mean it's really who they always play, but hey, guess
They
what?
always have scares. Like last year, they
Guess
had a
what?
scare against Missouri. I thought they were gonna lose. They were down like I don't know 13. They came back and then they won the national championship. It's like
At the end of the day, they're 1-5 against Dad. So yeah,
oh,
so that's all I
we're sunning Georgia on here. Let's go.
1-5 against Dad. So
You're lucky Zach's not here. He would not accept
I
this
know.
slander.
Oh no.
As a
That's
Georgia
why I'm
Tech
doing
fan, I'll allow it for right now.
it. No, hey, look, I have all the utmost respect for Georgia. They're a damn good football team. But I mean, just accept that you won 2 national championships. Great teams. You just didn't win it this year. Sucks. And you can't win them every year. That's it. Just hey, next season they're gonna be damn good. Probably gonna be the best team in the country next year. So just be happy for that. Just don't be a stubborn fan base that thinks they should win every national championship. That's all I got to say about that.
And this top 12 on the AP poll makes me wonder, how are they going to weight teams in the 12-team playoff next year? Because if you have auto bids for the Power 4 conferences, what are we doing?
Dude, I hope they don't do that. Realistically,
they're talking about it, right? I'm pretty sure that's how it's working.
I don't know
right
if
now.
they've officially set that or not. Because I know, I mean, I've heard other people talk about it. Because with the Group 5 team too, like I don't understand that because, I mean, it's probably not going to happen. You're going to have a team from each conference that's going to be a solid, probably a one or two loss team.
Well, in the SEC, a 2-loss team is as good as a no-loss team in the ACC now.
But now are they? The question is, are they giving them the top 4 spots, or are they just giving them an automatic bid to the playoff, and they're going to rank them appropriately? Because top 4 spots. What if you have a 9-3 ACC champion? Like, why would you give them number 4 spot?
That's the question I have.
If you
I'm
have
under the assumption they're giving them the auto top 4 spot.
Yeah, that's horrendous. They should not do that. Yeah, they should not do that.
But then you got to grade the top 4 teams by eye test, and like say Clemson has one of their world beater teams again. How do you judge that on an SEC team like Texas that gets 2 losses?
Yeah, I mean it's still a strength of schedule thing. I mean, it's the same thing as what it would be this year.
You would just go off strength of schedule for the top 4 teams?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, do it how they've been ranking the top 4 teams the last 10 years. Just hey, who have these teams played? How have they won these games?
It worked every single year except this year.
Yeah, this was really the only year that it got like, holy shit, we got an issue here.
Yeah.
So I mean, I definitely listen, guys.
I
definitely would have said all this slander.
We just got a text.
I definitely would have. Okay. The only reason I'm this fired up about it is because
he said,
the way Georgia
fans. Be in there. Yeah.
I was going to bring this up because I mean I've just been getting livid seeing all the Georgia tweets. All the Georgia fan tweets. Me and Troy got into it today when we were hanging out, working out. I was just like, man, just give
Troy
it a
left. He already got out of chat. He said this guy has no idea what he's talking about.
I mean, it's just Georgia fans, man. Every other fan in the country knows how Georgia fans are. So.
Yeah,
I love them. I live in a sea of Georgia fans every single day.
You don't live in the sea of Alabama fans that are probably the exact same though across the state line.
Yeah, maybe so, but
possibly worse because y'all have won more.
No, yeah, but then we understand, like, hey, man, we're not going to win every year. If we have a down year, if we lose this game, we lose that game. Shit, man, Michigan was just better than us in that game. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, if we would have been in the national championship, we would have won that game by 14 points. So that's just my outlook on it.
So, do you think Washington will ever be back in this position at number 2, though? I
mean, they've been they made the college football playoff before.
Yeah,
Kalen DeBoer, man, he's a good coach. I mean, brought that team back from being up. They made the college football playoff back in I can't remember what year, but
like 2015 or something.
15
like that. They
maybe,
got steamrolled by somebody too.
I think it was Alabama played them. But yeah, I mean, they're back. I don't think they're going to be as good next year, obviously, without Michael Penix, but they're getting Will Rogers. They're getting Will Rogers. So they got a guy. I mean, he's going to be good, but they're obviously losing first-round wide receiver talent too. So
yeah,
they're going to have to do a little bit of rebuilding. They'll hop in the transfer portal, try to snag some guys, whoever's left anyway, because there's not many people left, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
but it'll be interesting to see.
And Michigan might slowly be staring down the barrel. I've heard like Harbaugh's lawyering up. We'll see if JJ stays. If I were JJ, I'd stay because this is the only time you're going to be a star.
Yeah,
But both running backs are probably gone, right?
too many quarterbacks this year for JJ to try to go, because I heard Mel Kiper talking about JJ McCarthy compared to Michael Penix, and JJ McCarthy. How it's tough to draft the guy based on a dude that literally just had to play game manager all season.
Yeah,
Like when you're throwing less than 20 times a game,
exactly.
like how many times did you actually have to see JJ McCarthy do top tier quarterback things to win a football game? So it's kind of
Alabama, he
hard
did
to.
a couple, and I was like, all right, well, let's at least give him his flowers for
Oh
the
no,
game.
no, he did. Yeah, he played
And
great against
then he
Alabama.
goes against Michigan, and I don't
Washington.
know, or yeah, Washington. Sorry, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you don't, it's not his fault. If you don't have to throw the ball to win the game, then so be it. Like you're going to play.
He
the way
threw a
you're
couple
playing.
times, and it just looked ugly.
But I mean, I think next year would be, if he came back for a year, it'd be great for him because of the level of competition he's going to have to play throughout the year, because they have a crazy schedule next year.
Yeah,
I mean, I believe they're playing Washington again. They're playing Texas. I don't know if they have to play Oregon or not, but obviously they're still playing Ohio State. So they're going to have to play some freaking teams next year. So if he wants to come back in a lesser impressive quarterback class and, do something great, it'll definitely help him improve his draft stock.
Yeah, I think he'll still be second, third, fourth choice, and probably not even first or second, or maybe even third round. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's an uphill battle for Michigan to get back to this spot.
Oh no, I mean they're losing all these guys. I mean that was the main merit of this
the
team.
culmination of their team.
Yeah, they've had these guys for 3 years. They made it to the playoff 2 years in a row, got beat, and then literally the same team pretty much, and they finally won it. So they're going to lose a lot next year.
Yeah. So let's get into our next topic. I think we got a little bit of transfer portal. I know you had a lot. You wanted to talk kind of about the Florida State, all the talent they've been getting recently.
Yeah, man. Florida State, I was looking it up. I mainly started looking it up because they're taking some Bama guys. They got Alabama wide receiver Malik Benson, who was formerly #1 JUCO recruit before he transferred to Alabama. So he's leaving. Guess he wasn't getting as much touches as he wanted. And then also, I mean, it's kind of one of those things with when you got somebody like Milroe, we're not going to be and if you're not a deep ball guy, you're not going to be heavily used in a Milroe run offense. And they're also getting a DB from Alabama, Earl Little Jr., absolute stud. Wish he would have gotten more playing time, but we had Jalen Key, who transferred in from South Florida. He got the playing time, and then Malachi Moore officially announced he was going to be returning to Alabama next year. So Earl Little felt it was the right move to leave to get more playing time, and sucks because he was going to be damn good. I'm sure he'll be great for Florida State. But yeah, they just picked up defensive lineman from West Virginia, Tamawa Dorajaya, something like that. That's a tough name to say. 6'4", 277. He had 23 tackles, 3.5 sacks this year. They got picked up a wide receiver from LSU, 6'2" guy, top 80 recruiting class of 2023. They got Marvin Jones Jr. from Georgia, edge rusher.
DJ has no excuse next year to not be a.
Yeah, they got DJU. They got running back Jalen Lucas from Indiana, who's a stud. And then they got DB Devontae Brown from Miami and a defensive tackle Grady Kelly from Colorado State. So, I mean, this was literally within like the last 2 weeks, I think. So
just reloading.
These guys were the last 5 days. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty. I mean, that's pretty cool from Florida State. How many of those returning guys, like, how many are returning in the first place? Are they losing a bunch of starters and they're just trying to reload and kickstart again?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're losing. Yeah, they're losing basically. I think their 2 top wide receivers, obviously their quarterback. So I think their running back's going to be gone as well. So basically, their entire weaponry on their offense is leaving. So they're going to have to reload their defensive guys too. They got some studs leaving, going to the NFL. They're going to have some dudes in the NFL from this team. But I don't know. Just they're pulling the old freaking
Yeah.
shoot them out and reload, I guess.
They're gonna need to because apparently
But
they
I
can
don't
pick
know. Do
them.
you think the question is though, is this sustainable? Is this something you can do year in, year out and it actually works every year? Like I just don't know if that's the case. You gotta which they are recruiting great as well. So
Yeah.
they're stacking and that's the thing. You can't be a Colorado who's just literally only grabbing guys out of the transfer portal while only having what, like 7 high school commits.
Uh,
That's a little unsustainable there,
yeah.
but
I'm under
mm,
the opinion that you kind of like you recruit from within and then you kind of like fine tune your roster with the transfer
mhm.
portal. Like so I
Like an
mean,
Ole Miss. What Ole
yeah,
Miss
like
is
an
doing for
like
next year.
Ole Miss. Yeah, for example, they
Yeah.
just got who did they just get? I had them. Oh,
Walter
they got Diego
Nolan.
Pounds. They got another
Yeah.
4-star offensive lineman from UNC. Like they're
Jeez.
just fine tuning stuff on their roster
Mhm.
just to make them better. I had some transfer portal news.
Which
It's like
bringing up Ole Miss, let's discuss Quinshawn Judkins. Probably big
Ohio
old
State,
surprise
baby.
there. Yeah, leaving Ole Miss. But this is one of those cases where NIL and transfer portal sucks because it's like, why is your number one running back who is
Would have been
damn
one of the
good,
best
who
offenses we've
Ole
ever seen, I
Miss,
think.
yeah, who Ole Miss is going to be great next year. Your number one running back star on your offense is leaving. Why? Because that bag of money, dog. I
Yeah.
mean,
I
there's
mean,
people out there that just say, "Hey, I know you're gonna, you're the starting running back here, but they're not offering you what we can offer you. So how about you come join us for this much money?" And you
yeah.
can't blame the kid, realistically, but that's where
I
they need to
mean, since
hash
the
out some
rules
things there.
are like they are, you just take the bag of
Yeah,
money while you can get it.
yeah,
And
exactly.
I don't know how good Ohio State's going to be next year. They still got to work out some things with their quarterback
Yep.
situation, but
Well, they
they
got
got
Will
Judkins
Howard.
now, so they have they also got Will Howard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I
got Will. We
have that
thought Will
right here.
Howard was going to USC until their backup, old Moss, balled out in the bowl game, was slinging that rock, and he said, maybe I don't want to battle with that guy. And he saw Ohio State's quarterbacks play, and he was like, nah, I could beat those guys out. So,
I actually have in my notes. It's some nasty work right there. Waiting for like if you're Ohio State, waiting to accept Will Howard while everybody locks in that they're not leaving. So you
yeah,
retain all the quarterback talent with Will Howard on the way, and Will
yeah,
Howard's going to be the starter. That's
yep.
that's
And
some
then
nasty work.
yeah, and they also took the center from Alabama, Seth McLaughlin. Man, hopefully he figures out his yips because that was just pretty poor season snapping the ball to Jalen Milroe. Saban told him, he said, you always got a spot at Alabama. Might have tried to work out some kinks. I have a feeling it was kind of like a Kyle McCord situation where the fan base kind of ran him out. They were just fed up. Look, dude,
No
get the
shit.
hell. I mean, I feel bad. I think that's terrible for a fan base to run the kid out of town. But I mean, when you can't,
It's
I
not.
think it was some absurd amount of snaps. I think it was like over 30 snaps in his last 2 games that were not on target,
Yeah.
like below the knees or just way out there. So yeah, I
And
mean,
then I think the last transfer portal news we got is Evan Stewart being crystal balled to Oregon, which is
mhm,
that offense is going to be crazy with Tez
yeah,
Johnson plus Dylan Gabriel plus him. And then
yeah,
if he
no.
stays another year, he's got Dante Moore.
Well, hopefully, I know we talked about it last year. Sorry, last episode, his mental issues. So hopefully he gets that figured out. Don't want to see a guy of that caliber
Yeah.
fall to mental stuff. But he's gonna be, yeah. I mean, that Oregon offense, obviously they always produce explosive guys at the wide receiver side of the ball. So we'll see,
It'll
man.
be
It's gonna
interesting.
be,
Yeah, they're going to the Big Ten, so it's like, what's going to win
oh
out? Is it
man,
going to be the offenses or is it going to be the
no,
old school Big Ten defenses?
yeah.
And I think USC is loaded up on defense too.
Mhm.
Recently, they just got Kamari Ramsey from UCLA.
There you
He's
go.
the highest rated safety. So, Lincoln Riley might be trying to change to go more defensive.
Mhm.
I
Oh,
don't know.
yeah, I mean, he's definitely trying to change. He's got to.
I mean,
But,
yeah, he's gonna get fired if he doesn't.
yeah, I mean, it's awful. I mean, they
Yeah.
got the new defensive coordinator, so they'll I think they're going to have to figure it out, especially going into that conference. I'm very excited about these super conferences because it truly means like week in, week out. We're not going to have any. I feel like we won't have really hardly any weeks that are just like, oh, this week sucks at college football. It's a whole bunch of cupcake games, no
Yeah.
big games this week. And I feel like we'll have a lot more big time matchups week in, week out. At least one or at least like 3 games we'll have each week. But like, okay, this is gonna be fun to watch.
But again, it'll be interesting to see how they rate a 3-loss SEC team versus like a 2-loss, conference
ACC
winner,
team,
of this conference. I mean,
yeah,
it's just it's cool to see the super conferences, but at the same time, it's almost at the point where they got to have their own playoff, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and just say fuck the NCAA.
Yeah, no.
Whole.
Yeah. College football, like I mean, I don't know if we had already mentioned it, but they only have this 12-team playoff solidified for 2 years.
Yeah.
So there's no contract, there's no plan after 2025 of what the hell is going to happen. I mean, because TV deals are going crazy. Like nobody knows what's going on. Are we still going to keep the 12-team playoff? Are we going to like it? Who knows? I don't know. So college football is just purely up in the air right now of what's going to happen in the long run.
Well, let's leave that right there. Let's go into this last segment of the season.
Yep.
What up, Wagga? Good to see you, bro. Georgia Tech Natty Champs next year? I hope, bro. I fucking hope. Haynes King leading us, bro.
Will they make the playoff?
Yeah, hell no.
Hey.
Favorite moment of the college football season? Everybody in chat, type yours down. We'll read them out. I know my girlfriend, I was typing this up when we were doing it, and she said the Miami fumble playing Georgia Tech. I did not influence that one. She actually said that on her own. I think originally she took Zach's, which Zach told us to say his.
Yeah.
It was the Bama 4th and 31 because it changed almost the entire landscape of college football.
Yep. I couldn't pick that one. I told everybody, I said, I won't pick that one because it's biased. But yes,
but you
I
haven't
do
been
agree.
biased enough on the whole fucking podcast.
Yeah, whatever, dude. But it's really biased against Georgia. I'm not biased for Alabama. It's biased against Georgia.
We got Christian saying Brock Bowers Auburn game. That was a legendary game. And
that final drive was insane. That catch he caught behind his body one-handed, absolutely nuts.
Was that the game he got hurt though?
No, he got hurt in 2 games later, I think. 1 or 2 games later. I don't even know. Was it Vanderbilt I think he got hurt against? Maybe? Yeah. But yeah, that final drive against Auburn was damn impressive by Brock Bowers. But yeah, I agree with Zach on the 4th and 31. It changed everything. If Alabama loses that game, I mean, Georgia could lose the SEC championship and still be in the college football playoff. Yeah. Maybe Florida State doesn't get left out. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe Bama doesn't have the same momentum going into the SEC championship and beats Georgia. Who knows? A ton of things could have happened from that insane play. Mine being, had to be. It was early on in the season. I don't think any craziness had happened yet. But Missouri versus Kansas State, I can't remember if it was I think it was week 2 or week 3, when big old bowling ball Harrison Mevis kicked that thing 61 yards.
Kicker, baby.
Thicker kicker, dude. Harrison Mevis banged that 61-yarder to win the game over Kansas State, dude. I remember, that was the first big moment of the season.
That was kind of a big moment too, because
it kind of set the tone for Missouri for the rest of the year. Like, Kansas State's a good squad. This is a good football team to beat, and for Missouri, they kind of showed early on that they might be a team to mess around with this year, and damn, they proved that. So
I think my favorite moment of the season, just because of how batshit crazy it was the hype around Colorado after that first game when they beat TCU.
I was kind of thinking that was up there for me.
Dude,
I was like, oh shit.
No, because the game 2 when they played at home, did they have Lil Wayne or The Rock that game?
maybe both.
I don't
know
know.
they had Lil Wayne.
There were casuals, and maybe me included, because I wanted chaos, screaming
Yeah.
Colorado to the playoff. They're going crazy. I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like the amount of views those games got, it just felt special. And
Yeah.
then Oregon had to come in and ruin everybody's fun. But the first win was probably the best for me in
Yeah.
terms
That
of like
was
the most hype in the season.
that was crazy, dude. God, Colorado, man. What they beat I know they beat their over under on the wins this season. I think they were only at like 2.5.
Blew
They
it out
got
in the
4.
first 4 games, yeah.
Yeah, and then proceeded to lose just about I think every game after that.
Yeah, that felt like a whole season within itself. Like
It
just by
really did.
itself, it was just like, oh, this is
Yeah.
and then you
You
get
know
to the
what?
rest.
I was thinking about too. Thinking about favorite moments is how we didn't have what Josh Pate likes to call as the volcanic weekend. We really didn't have that weekend where holy shit, what just happened? Like these
Like every
teams
team gets
lost.
upset.
Yeah, exactly. Like these crazy upsets happen, and like we didn't have that this year.
And
We had some upsets here and there, but
if you look at the top like 4 teams, you kind of expected it, right? You had Michigan up
yeah.
there, you had
Mhm.
Washington up there, and then you had Texas, who's known for blowing games, and they blew one. They tried to like they lost one against Oklahoma,
Yeah.
but then they pulled it out at the
They
end of the
tried.
season.
They
But
tried to lose to Kansas State, but
yeah,
they also didn't have they also didn't have Quinn Ewers that game, so it
but
can't
there
be.
was no weekend. It was like, holy shit, the whole landscape is changing, and there's going to
Yeah.
be another 2 SEC teams in the playoff. There's going to be
Yep.
this, like,
It's kind of like you couldn't lose this year. Those top 6 teams, it was like, dude, you lose,
yeah,
you're gone because none of these other teams are losing, or those other teams were playing each other, so one of them had to lose.
exactly,
Yeah, and
exactly.
no real crazy changes this year. I think I feel like the top 8 stayed the top 8
Yeah,
for since the beginning of the call, like what week 6 when they came out with the first college football playoff rankings. I think the top 8 stayed the same the entire time until Alabama beat Georgia, and that's when everything changed. But that was really the only big wow moment.
yeah. I
So
mean, yeah. I think the older I get, the more I understand to just go with conventional wisdom at the beginning of the season. Say, this team, this team, this team will make playoff, and you're probably right at the end of the season. No matter how
yeah,
crazy the rest of the season gets, probably right.
oh, I know. But man,
Man,
hey,
what a
what a
fucking season.
freak, what a fucking season. We thoroughly enjoyed doing this show for you guys. Hopefully, we'll continue getting better, adding different segments. I just thought of a segment we can do next week. We're going to continue to do this show, guys. Off season ain't no off season for us. All right,
Yeah.
we're going to keep hitting you with the transfer portal news. We'll start hitting recruiting more. Keep you guys updated on that. I think next week let's plan on doing projected top 12. Who gets in the playoffs, huh? We'll do a
Why
little
not?
who we think gets in the playoffs.
Way too early projections.
Yeah,
Let's do
way
it.
too early top 12. But
Hey,
yeah, like
Waga,
I
I
said,
got you on Georgia Tech. They're going to be number 8.
wait, are they winning the ACC championship there?
No, they're coming in second.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, like we said, man, had a year. Sorry we only got to you guys in the back half of the season, but we're looking forward to continuing doing this, and it's been a good time. And like I said, not off season for us, but cheers to the end of the college football season, and till next year.